thinking to myself, either I pass out and try and get carried out, or I stand here for the last couple of songs trying to keep myself up, because I thought that was the safest option. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I thought I would film this video because the day it goes up it'll be exactly 5 years since this incident happened, so I thought I would make like a story time about it. I don't really know why I'm doing this video, but I just wanted to talk about something that deeply affected me and I just tried to brush it off. Just a disclaimer, I have changed these two girls' names. I don't have any beef with them, I don't have any problems with them anymore. This happened when I was 16 and they were 15, so it's like we were in year 11, we've left school now, well, 5 years ago. I didn't see them after we did our GCSEs or anything, so it's like I don't have a problem with them, so I just thought I would talk about it. So yeah, I was 16, they were 15. We were in year 11 and I went through like an emo phase. Like I really liked bands and I went to gigs, and little did I know this would be the last gig I ever attended. The friendship group I was in at the time didn't really like the bands that I liked, so when my favourite bands were like playing, I didn't have anyone to go with. So like I missed out on a few gigs because I didn't have anyone to go with. And something that makes it even more difficult is the fact neither of my parents drive. I've always had to rely on other people to like, get me to and from places, like if I go with someone. And I don't want to that sounds like I was using people, but like I wasn't. Yeah, it's like if I was going with someone, I'd be like, is it okay if like you drop me home afterwards, because I don't have a way of getting home. The last train was like straight after the gig finished at like 11 p.m. No one in my friendship group at the time wanted to go and see these two bands. So there was this girl who I was friends with in English, she sat next to me, I'm gonna call her Alice. She was a massive fan of this band. We got tickets like 9 months in advance. This gig was like planned, like it wasn't just a whim. But it turns out she ended up being quite close with some girl I wasn't really that close with. I didn't know that she was like going to the gig as well. It ended up being like the 3 of us. Like I try and get on with anyone, so it's like it wasn't a problem that this other girl, I'm gonna call her Natasha, was there. I was like, okay, it's gonna be a fun evening. It was a Monday, we had school. Natasha and Alice decided that they wanted to queue for the entire day instead of going to school because they wanted to get as close to the barrier as possible. And it was February, it's cold. And I was just thinking like, do I really want to like join them? Do I really want to like sit outside for like 8 hours? I was like, no. So I just went to school as normal, and they were just like queuing all day. In a way, like I'm glad that they let me join the queue with them since they queued all day and I didn't. So yeah, I guess I am thankful for that. I left school at the normal time. I came home, had a bit of food, got dressed, and then I got the train to the venue. I walked the entirety of the queue to find them, and I found them. So you know, that was fine, because I was like really anxious about not being able to find them. That was one of my biggest issues about going on my own later on. I got to them about 4:30 maybe, and doors opened at 6:30. When the doors opened, we had to get our tickets checked so we could enter the venue, and they both went ahead of me because there was like 3 different queues to check tickets and stuff. They both went ahead of me. They ran towards the stage and I was behind them still getting my ticket checked. And when I was finally allowed in, like it only took like 10 seconds after them, like they'd already like ran, and I was like, oh god, like I'm gonna have to run after them. So I started running, and then a member of staff like yelled at me like twice for running, so I had to like try and quickly walk towards them. I didn't think anything of it that they didn't wait for me, because I was like, oh okay, they've been queuing all day, they just want to get to the barrier, they want to get as close as possible because they have queued all day. So I wasn't really thinking about it too much. I was like, okay, fine, whatever. So we had to wait like half an hour before the support act came on, and like I was like stood here and then they were like stood in front of me. So it's like I wasn't like stood in the line with them, I was like stood behind them, like, you know, with like touching distance. So I thought that was okay really. And then the support group happened, we were quite close to the front, as you can see. Then there was like half an hour break before All Time Low came on, and they decided, well, Natasha decided to like push in front of people to try and get to the barrier, and she ended up getting to the barrier, I think, and she grabbed Alice's hand and like pulled it with her, and I was just like stood there like, oh, clearly I wasn't invited to get pushed as well. I thought that Natasha pushing her and Alice through the crowd to get to the barrier, even though we were already close enough, was quite rude on other people, and people were giving her dirty looks, and I was just stood there like, I don't want to get involved in this. Like, I thought that was quite rude. The people in front of me turned around. I was like, oh sorry, because there wasn't enough room for me to join Natasha and Alice, and I was like, oh, it's okay, don't worry, because like I wasn't expecting people to just let me like push in front of them, because I'm not like that. I can still see where they are, that's absolutely fine. I'm like stood on my own, but I can see them. The lights went off and All Time Low came out, and I don't know if you know, like if you're at a gig, the lights are like dimmed and you can't really see anything. It's really dark, and you can only see like the band or the artist on the stage. So I was just like there watching the gig. Here's some footage. Like, I was quite close to the front, but like Natasha and Alice were like obviously like quite in front of me, and their set must have lasted about an hour, maybe a bit longer, I don't really know. And I was just stood there like filming it. Like, I think at the back of my mind I was like, oh god, like I'm alone. I think the arena can hold like 10,000 people, and when you're like standing, you're surrounded by everyone. So I was just kind of like stood there like trying to like, you know, listen to the band, enjoy myself, and I was just like, woo, this is so fun, because I was just on my own. Like, I didn't really have anyone to share it with. I was just stood there. Everyone was just around me with their friends, and I was just stood there like, okay. And then after their set ended, we had like another 20-30 minute break before UB86 came on, and I was just stood there like the lights came on a little bit. People, if they want to walk to the bar, they want to go to the toilet, and I was just stood there and I was like, okay. And then I looked in front of me and I couldn't see neither Natasha or Alice, and I was like, oh my god, where have they gone? But the thing is, when you're like got standing tickets at a gig, people push you squashed against everyone. You can't exactly just stay still in one place. So I was like, okay, maybe they just got pushed or something. So I was just like trying to like glance around, like, where have they gone? And I couldn't see them, and I panicked. I was like, oh my god, like, where have they gone? I can't see either of them. I was like, if I find at least one of them, that'd be a miracle. But I couldn't find either of them. I had no way of contacting them. I didn't have either of their numbers, which is a bit stupid, like, looking back. But I thought I was going to be with them the entire night, but it turns out I wasn't really with them at all. So I was like, oh my god, like, what am I going to do now? If I can't find Alice at the end, I have no way of getting home. I know that sounds really mean, but I was like, oh god, like, I'm going to be totally alone the rest of the night now. What if I can't find her at the end? How am I going to get home? It's like all these things were just going through my mind. I was surrounded by loads of strangers. I just wanted to go home. I wanted to leave. I'm 5 foot, I'm really short, and like, you're surrounded by people. Like, you turn around, there's just rows of people. Looked in front of me, rows of people. Looked to the side, just people. Looked to the other side, just people. I was like surrounded by people, and I was just like, oh my god, like, what am I gonna do? Do I try and push myself to the side for the rest of the gig? I was like roughly in the middle, so I was trying to estimate which side would be better for me to try and get to, because obviously I would have had to like push past loads of people and be like, excuse me, and that was really daunting. I was trying to like go on my tiptoes and like see which way was the best. I was just really scared at this point. I was trapped. I didn't know what to do. There was like this group of girls, and I just like turned to one of them and I was like trying to ask her something. I think it was like if she could like help me figure out how to get out. I don't really know, but that was just so much going through my head at once. I was like, oh god, what am I gonna do? And then I looked at her and I tried to speak to her, and I just went, like, nothing came out. Like, I was so full of fear, like nothing came out at all. And she just looked at me like, what the hell? I was just like completely choked with fear. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to help myself. So I was just stood there. Can we just get on with it now? I want to go home. The last place you want to go during the middle of a gig is to go home. And I was just stood there like, oh my god, I really want to go home. Should I just try and get out and then get the train? Because obviously it wasn't the end, it was like halfway through. But I just couldn't move. I couldn't speak to anyone, I just couldn't move. As I was stood there waiting for You Me at 6 to come on, I felt some warm liquid on my arm. I turned around and I saw a guy with his hands lower than the rest of him. And I saw a girl holding a cup for him. So yeah, a guy peed on my arm and I was just stood there like, great. A little bit later, after that monstrosity, the lights went back off and You Me at 6 came on. All the other people who really wanted to see You Me at 6 were like trying to push in front because all time low had gone. People were like pushing in front of me and I was just like, ugh. As you can see, as You Me at 6's set went on, I ended up going further and further and further back because everyone was just pushing and pushing. I wasn't enjoying myself and I was like, if people just push me and push me, I'm gonna be further back, which means I'll be closer to the door. So I was just like, okay, that's absolutely fine. I was like stood there filming clips and that, pretending I was having a good time, but I really wasn't. And then during the middle of the set, a group of guys decided to have a mosh pit. If you don't know what a mosh pit is, a circle opens up, people like run into each other and it gets a little bit physical and stuff, and I'm just like 5 foot little me. Somehow this mosh pit opened around me and I was just stood there like, oh my god. A couple pulled me to the side. They were like, are you okay? And I was like, no. And the guy just looked at me like, right, and like went off. Like moved up to the side again, and I was just like, so yeah, I just kept moving further and further to the back for the entirety of the set. I was still filming clips because I was like, so I might as well try and gain something from this because I really wasn't having a good time at all. Everyone was just like singing and chanting around me and I was just like, I could barely have my hands like in front of me because like you just stuck against so many people, and I was just holding my phone looking at the time. I was just like, okay, so if it's this time, that means the latest it could end is this time, so that means I have this time left. And it's like the entirety of the set I was just like, I want to go home, maybe I'll be able to leave at this point. And then if you thought everything wasn't that bad, it got worse. About 3 songs before the end, I started to feel really faint. I felt like I was going to pass out and my legs completely went to jelly and I felt sick. And I was just there like, oh my god, what am I gonna do? Because obviously I already couldn't ask people for help because I couldn't get any words out. So I was just stood there like surrounded by all these people like taking absolutely no notice of me. I just felt like panicked because I was like, oh god, what am I gonna do? And I felt like I was gonna throw up. I could feel myself like keeling over, like I was just stood there and I could feel myself go, like start going like that, like I was gonna pass out. And I was sweating, I was clammy, I wasn't feeling great at all. I was just trying to keep myself up and I was thinking to myself, either I pass out and try and get carried out to the side, or I stand here for the last couple of songs and just try and get my bearings and try and hold myself up, because soon I'll be able to go outside, I'll be able to have some fresh air and then I'll be able to try and get my way home. Because obviously like when you're surrounded by loads of people, I was like, if I lie on the floor and try and get help, then people might stamp on me, people might kick me, you know, like I didn't want any broken bones. And obviously like I didn't want someone to like break my glasses or anything, so I was just like trying to keep myself up because I thought that was the safest option. I felt dizzy, I felt lightheaded, I just couldn't really like cope. And I was just like, oh god. And like every single time they played another song, everyone was like, woo! And I was just like, oh no, please just end. I want to go home. I want to leave. I was trying not to throw up and I was trying not to pass out, and I was trying to hold myself together because I felt myself like starting to cry because I just felt really alone, even though I was standing with like 10,000 people. And then when it finally ended, bright yellow confetti was coming down and I was struggling to see. I felt faint and I was just trying to walk to the exit because there's like several doors which were all open to let people out as quick as possible. and I was trying to walk. I saw people staring at me because it's like I was trying to walk, but bright yellow confetti was just coming down, which was making it even more difficult to see. I already felt like I was going to pass out, and I was just an absolute mess. I was like, oh god, like how am I going to get out? And it's like I was trying to like walk, and I think I like had my arms out like that because I was just like trying to like guide myself out of the building. And people were just like looking at me, and like I really felt anxious because of how I was feeling, and then people were looking at me and I was like, oh god, I'm causing a scene. So I tried to get myself out to get some fresh air whilst I waited for Alice to try and find me. And I was just stood by the doors because I thought that was the best place to wait for her. They were the doors which we came in. I was stood there waiting, hoping that she'd come through there, but she didn't. And I was just stood there for a good 10-20 minutes, trying not to throw up, trying to just like stay still, trying to hold myself together. And I was leaning against a wall, trying to stop myself from like falling or fainting or passing out. Like I was sweating, I was in an absolute state, like I had no water, I had absolutely nothing, but I was too afraid to ask for help. And I was just stood there hoping that Alice would find me. And then there was a group of drunk guys, and one of them tried talking to me, and I was already like really anxious about the entire night. And then this drunk guy came over to me and he was asking me questions about like, do I have my friend's number, am I okay, how I got away home. I was just like, oh god, like am I gonna get kidnapped? Eventually the group of them walked off, and then I looked inside the venue because I was stood by the venue door still, and it was just like people stood around waiting for the band. I couldn't see Alice or Natasha, so I went outside, and obviously it was dark, it was like 11 p.m. Then across the road Alice shouted my name like really loud, and I was like, thank god for that, because that was the longest 20 minutes of my life. I was just in the car with Alice and her dad, and they were like talking, and I was just sat there staring out the window. I get travel sickness. I already felt the way I did, so I was just staring out the window trying not to like throw up or anything. It was gone midnight I think, and I just got in, and my mum was like, you alright? Because she like waited up to make sure I got in okay. And I just burst into tears. I was just like, Mum, I've had a really bad night. She was like, right, have a little snack and then try and sleep because you got school tomorrow. I probably should have taken the day off, but year 11 and GCSEs and stuff, like you can't really. I was sat on my bed eating some pink iced ring donuts at like 1 in the morning, and then I came into school the next day, and Natasha and Alice were basically telling everyone it was such a good gig. They were talking to each other and they were like, oh yeah, I couldn't find you, where were you? And it turns out at the end of All Time Low's set, Natasha passed out by the barrier and she got carried to the side by security. Alice like fell over or something in the crowd because the pushing was so bad. She got carried out to the side as well, but somehow they didn't know they were both at the same side. But like no one really mentioned that I spent the entire night on my own. I guess the only achievement from that night is I'm a lot stronger than I thought I was, because I didn't pass out. I managed to like hold myself together until I got home. That gig was like the worst night of my life. I haven't been to a gig since. I just feel like it's not worth it. I don't really know how to end this now. If you're still watching to this point, thank you so much. I know it is quite long-winded, but since it was like 5 years ago, I just wanted to like talk about it and to like give advice really, because that night I was put in a lot of danger. Only go to places with people who you know will keep you safe and look after you and make sure that you're not left behind or lost. Stay with friends who are like really your friends. If you did enjoy this video, please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and I will be back soon for another one, hopefully not as emotional as this one. Bye.